Now, let me just explain to you why I use a concealer as I'm buffing this in. I'm back with another educational beauty video, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you my summer heat-proof foundation application technique. Now this is what I do when I want to make sure that my base stays put. It's humid, weatherproof, it's sweat-proof, it is like major heat-proof, trust me. I live in Dubai. It is so hot here, like so hot, and I'm telling you it stays put. It doesn't drip, sweat doesn't come through, it stays looking flawless, and I know this is going to work for you and you're going to absolutely love it. Now, if you do like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you don't miss any of my future videos. And I'm over on Instagram, so if you do like unboxing, reels, and a bit of like behind the scenes, what I get up to when I'm not filming for YouTube, then please do head over there and hit follow. Now, let's get started with this tutorial. Now I'm going to start with my Milk Hydro Grip Primer. I use this because it's, well, just amazing. I also feel like it really does grip my foundation. So I've kind of smoothed that on my fingers there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to smooth this over my face. Now the mistake some people make with this primer is they really rub it in. Now you don't want to rub it in. You want it to create like a film over your skin. So it's kind of like a sticky film all over your skin. So you can see I haven't really rubbed that in properly. Now that's kind of very tacky over my skin. Now that's ready for my foundation application. Now, or concealer. Now I always underpaint, and underpainting is my go-to. I absolutely love it. I'm going to show you my version of underpainting and how I do it. I don't necessarily like to apply everything underneath. I'm talking about liquid blush and all that kind of stuff, or bronzer, blah blah blah. I like to just use either a sculpting stick or a concealer as my contour, and then my normal concealer, and then I go over with my foundation. So I am going to be starting with my concealer. I'm going to be applying firstly some on my lids because we're just going to prep my lids. So this is my Tarte Shape Tape in 35N medium. I'm just gonna buff this in. Now, by the way, applying concealer over your eyelids is also a great way for your eye makeup. Just Someone opened the door and disturbed my filming, but I am okay with that because look what he bought me. Thanks, babe. I was eating my lunch. So before I had my lunch, I made him a bagel. You know those bagel thins? Have you had them? They're so good. And what I love is I can have them while I'm dieting. Like I just have one. Don't worry, don't go crazy. I made him one. I'm just going to apply a little bit more concealer on my lids. So I made him a bagel, and then I made my own lunch. And while I'm eating my lunch, he's like, oh, I think I could have another one. And I was like, oh, well, toaster's in the kitchen, right? You know, because I'm in the middle of my lunch now. And he just looked at me in disgust. But I mean, I did make him his before. I was just in the middle of my lunch, right? So just before I started filming, I said to him, babe, could you make me a coffee? And he said, yeah, the kettle's in the kitchen. I'll just laugh at him to make him feel like he's funny. I'm only saying this now because I know he's going to be watching this when, like, he's watching this video back and he's going to be hating on me. Anyway, he made me a cappuccino, and look how amazing it is. I mean, look at that froth. That froth. I love all that. I've got my powder. I'm using my Makeup Forever Ultra HD powder in Light Banana. I've got my Laura Mercier powder puff, and I'm really kind of just pressing this onto my eyelids. You can actually see it there. And then we're just going to dust away that powder. Let's now go in with the concealer. Now, I'll be honest, if you want your makeup to last all day, then giving yourself like a dewy base, and I mean when you actually create it in a dewy way too, and not just the illusion of a dewy base, it's really not going to stay. So if you give your matte base the illusion of a dewy look, then yes, it will last, because really it's just an illusion. It's actually matte underneath. But if you're going to create a dewy base and like create that dewy base and like you've hardly powdered anywhere, it's just not going to last through the heat at all. So I have to be completely realistic with you about that. So anyway, I am now going to buff this in a second. I've got my sponge and I'm going to now buff this on the under eye area. Now, I don't want to like go crazy with the amount of concealer that I put on. Purely, like, I could go more, I'm gonna be honest, but I don't want to because I know that not a lot of you will generally put that much on. And really, I just want to show you a base, which I know that works for me and is kind of heat proof, you know, it just stays put. Now I'm gonna get my NARS Radiant Concealer, and this is in dark 2. I will put the shade name up, and I'm going to be now sculpting my face. Right, now I sometimes use a sculpting stick, right, which is the Makeup by Mario one, but when I want really kind of like heat proof makeup, I always use a concealer as my sculpting, and let me tell you why once I've done my nose contour. So I just do like my usual nose contour. Okay, so I've got my Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood complexion brush already. I've got a fat side and I've got a small thin side, which is slightly angled. I use the fat side for the areas which are like the larger surface areas, and then the smaller side for like my nose and things like that. Now, let me just explain to you why I use a concealer as I'm buffing this in. I use a concealer for my sculpting when I want my makeup to be heat proof, because I know that concealer is made to stay put. I know that concealer is made to kind of dry up on the skin and just stay in that area. Whereas when you're using like a sculpting stick or a contour product, it's not really made to stay in a certain place. Like, it's not made for lasting, like, long wear. It's made just as a cream. There's no specific finish, if you think about it, to that product. When you're looking at concealers, you know that the Tarte Shape Tape, when you've applied it, it stays put. I know when I'm using something like the NARS Radiant Concealer, when I've applied it, it stays put. It's not like melting all over the face. Whereas when I'm using something like a sculpting stick, it's just a cream product and that's it. There's no kind of finish to it. It doesn't dry matte or anything like that. So when I'm using a concealer, I know that if I'm using a concealer which I know that stays put and dries matte, then I know that it's going to stay there, right? Even through the heat. Whereas with sculpting creams and things like that, or bronzing creams, they tend to kind of like move around a little bit. They're not made or designed to just stay in that area, because it's not necessarily like a foundation or concealer. It's just for sculpting. Always use a concealer which you know stays put. So I am going to start kind of sculpting this in. Oh my god, sometimes I literally don't know what I'm saying. So that's gonna kind of stay there. Can you see how that's really sculpted that area? This is gonna do this bit here, which is good for like making my forehead look smaller. Same here. And then the small side of the brush here for my nose. Now this is where we move on to our foundation. So we have our concealer on, and we've made sure we used concealers which, you know, we know, or I know at least, stay put. So once I've kind of buffed it into the skin, this isn't going anywhere now. It kind of dries matte, and if you were to look close up to my skin, it is pretty matte. It's not glowing, it's not like giving that dewy finish to it. It kind of dries and stays put and sets on the skin. So the fact that now my concealer has set after my blending, I am now kind of in a really good position to be able to apply my foundation, because I've got this first layer on which is completely matte and is just kind of stuck there, right? Because we've got that really nice primer underneath for this to like grip hold of. And now that this is set, so you've got to let this kind of set. Don't just go straight in with your foundation. Let this set, and then you're going to go in with your foundation, which is also going to set to a kind of like, it's going to set in the right way, you know, to like a matte or semi-matte finish. And the foundation that I'm going to be using is the one that honestly I would hands down is the best foundation I think for wearing in the heat, is the Dior Forever Matte, and this is the 24-hour transfer proof high perfection foundation, and this is actually SPF 20, and it has like an infusion of floral skincare in there, so it's actually good for your skin too. My shade is 3W, so I'm just going to put this on the back of my hand. I'm going to grab my sponge and I'm just going to basically drag, buff, you know, so you're dragging the sponge into the product, buffing into your hand, and then you're going to go into your skin. So now this is where I am just applying this on my forehead, and my sponge is damp. And we're just going to go down all of the face, and we're buffing into the skin. Okay, now that our foundation is on, we're going to let that set for a few seconds. I'm just going to have a sip of my cappuccino. We're going to go in with our powder puff, go into the powder, shake it off so that there's no excess. And now we're going to press. Do you see how I press there? Shake it off in here. Always do the under eye area first. There you go. Now you can see when I pressed it very close together all the way across. I'm not going here, 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 here. Right, okay. Then what I'm going to do is just go into other areas. There's less on the sponge now. And we're really going to press into the skin. I've got two brushes ready. I've got my Veil brush from Hourglass, and I've got my Real Techniques brush. I'm going to go in with my Veil brush, and there's nothing on here, and I'm going to very lightly just dust over all my face. So you can see all that powder's dusted off. Now I'm going to go on the under eye area, and I'm going to dust this across, just to get rid of all that excess. I am literally just going to add a little bit of kind of sculpting. So I'm using my Sunstalker in Shady Biz with my Hourglass brush, my Veil brush. I feel like that's enough. I don't really want to kind of like go crazy. I just want you to see how this base looks. And that basically is my heat-proof makeup. So this is how I would do my base when I know that I want it to last through this like intense heat, humid weather, and it's also a very flawless look. So I love the fact that it is fully matte and that it is kind of something where your skin looks amazing too, and even in this heat it kind of stays matte. Now for the first hour after you apply your foundation this way, it is going to kind of feel and look very fresh. You know that whole feeling and that look when you've just put makeup on and it all looks very there? That's what it's going to look like for the first hour. It could be an hour and a half. It all depends on how kind of long it takes for your natural oils to come out through your skin. Then it starts to look a lot more kind of like lived in, so it seems a bit more settled down then. So for the first hour or so, just be prepared for it to look very matte, but it will not last. It will kind of like soften up a little bit. Now if you really want to go kind of like, and you want to add like an extra layer of protection, then you can go in with a setting spray. There are a few that I recommend. There's a good one by MAC, which is Fix and Stay Over. There's also another one that I've got here, which is the Urban Decay All Nighter. So there's a couple of like really good setting sprays as well that you could use with that. But that basically is my way of creating a kind of heat-proof makeup look. So this is all focused on foundation because I know that I don't want to overwhelm you. I don't want you to be like, oh, okay, but I didn't need to know that bit. Maybe I'll break it up so I can show you like another full look with an entire whole look going on, but I really wanted to focus just on the foundation for today. So I'm sending you loads of love, and I really do hope you've managed to get hold of my Sigma brush set. The link is in my description below, so please do head over and grab yours. It would mean the world to me, and I would really love to share the things that I've learned through this brush set. So I have put together this brush set so that you guys have the same tools that I have. I use these brushes day in, day out, and actually I kind of like sat down and thought about, like, I want to create a brush set which is very minimal. So there's only a few brushes in this set. There's like maybe 4, I think, 4 or 5 max. Those brushes are all you need to create majority of eye looks. And I've even done a video on it. If you look back, the only eye makeup brushes you need. I've shown you how you can create different looks, and we've kind of built the look up as we've gone along, and it's pretty amazing how you can create different looks with these brushes. So yeah, head over, grab yours, show your support, and let me know that you got it, and that, you know, what you felt about the brush set, like how you found it. I'd love to know your thoughts too, because that means the world to me. And then yeah, I'd love to hear from you. So wherever you are in the world, I'm sending you loads of love. I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments box below. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and also that bell button so that you never miss any of my future videos. Until the next video, take care, and I'm going to see you soon.